There it goes. All right, so no, I was just starting to get into the opener, and then Mr. Todd came on. So I do expect you to have a decent foundation with what we're going to talk about today. For the opener, I mean, I don't want you to tell me the water cycle, okay, but what's the basic process of the water cycle? How does our water get recycled?
Evaporates.
Okay, so we're going to start with evaporation, and after evaporation would be what? Condensation, and then after that would be what?
Rain.
Not yet, not runoff, not yet.
It comes back down.
Comes back down, what's that called when it comes to precipitation?
Oh, man.
Okay, and then what else? There's,
Runoff.
okay, so the runoff and accumulation, okay, and then there's really one more part, probably the only one that you're not gonna remember. It's something that plants do. Transpiration. It's almost like they sweat when they're breathing. So, yeah, I expect you, and I expect us to get through this rather quickly too. This is one of the shorter ones. I decided to add in stream gradients, which I think is Thursday. That one's long. I need to go in and try to alter it because it's a lot.
The entire thing is GMT.
Yeah, it's just the generic process of the water cycle. We have the same amount of water currently that this planet started off with. And it didn't look like Earth now, 4 billion years ago, but all of the water that's here present pretty much has always been here. It's just things have drank it, it's turned into all different kinds of weird things, the hydrogens and the oxygens, like everything is recycled. So we've got, I think you guys started off with evaporation. I can't remember if that's what I started off with this or not. It's been since last week when I put these together. But you've got this repetitive process between the air, the atmosphere, and the actual liquid water parts, so not just oceans, but like rivers, like what you think of as water, and then the land itself. And as the water goes from point A to point B, it's constantly filtering itself and refreshing itself. Each part of the water cycle is going to be a part of the other ones as well. You can't have one without having the others. Let's see, is there one more? Okay, so like I said, the water that you drink, the water that's in your bodies was most likely in dinosaurs. Okay, it was in other people that have, come and gone. It's moving from one system to another. It just wasn't always like modern Earth. Because at one point in time, our planet was a giant fireball, molten, nasty thing, but the water was still there. The water was inside the Earth, and then we had all that volcanic outgassing. If we go way back, I think this was the first 6 weeks that we did this? Maybe in the second 6 weeks. That the Earth literally belched the gases back from the inside of it out into the atmosphere. And then we had bacteria, we had photosynthesis, and voila, fast forward a few billion years, and here we are today. So, all of the water that is present has been through other bodies. Okay, and yes, it could have been other humans. I don't know, because I've had people ask me, like, how many different things have drank and peed out the same water that we're literally ingesting every day. I don't know how many things. But the amount of water, like I said, that we have now is the same as what happened when our planet formed. It just wasn't in the state that it is in now. I know, my allergies are horrible today. My eyes feel like they're swollen. Itchy. Oh, I never fixed mine. We must have had another power outage. The screen has sort of gone off the side of the smart board. That thing really needs to be pulled just a little bit forward, and yeah, that's not going to happen in the ceiling. All right, so what drives the water cycle is primarily solar energy. You're going to see the word insolation a lot. It's just the incoming radiation from the sun, solar energy. Not all of the heat on this planet comes from the sun, but the bulk of it, over 99% of it does.
Wait, what was When did the Earth see the water?
It, from its early formation. The same amount of water that we have now wasn't necessarily in the liquid state like it is now. But when our Earth first formed, that's where we got our water from. And it was primarily, it was the bombardment from the comets. Okay, water is way, way, way more common than we used to think. We used, oh, that's why Earth is so special. It's not that water is necessarily so rare, it's the fact that it's in the liquid state that makes this planet so unique. Because we find ice everywhere, everywhere. So we started with, I think, Kaden, you were the one that said we started with evaporation. And eventually it'll condense, it'll form clouds. Eventually they get heavy enough, and we have the right temperature and the right air pressures. We have precipitation. And then somebody said runoff, which is part of accumulation. The ultimate sink for all water would be the oceans, but there are other places where water can pool. We'll get more into water bodies and systems. I believe that's Wednesday. Things like aquifers, like they're man-made, they're called reservoirs. And you have to keep in mind that in clouds, it's ice. It's suspended ice particles because it's so much colder up there. I don't even know if I go into the different types of precipitation. Y'all should know the different things that come out of the sky. Rain, hail, sleet, snow. Air. The water portion. Like I said, each time you have state of matter change, you have cleaning of the water. Evaporation is probably, well, evaporation and then the filtration through the ground, through
So, evaporation, it's like on out and then precipitation coming out.
the correct. And then forming the clouds is condensation. It's the same thing if you have a cold glass of water and it sweats on the outside, it's not going through the glass, it's actually pulling the moisture from the air. All right, so you guys have this picture. I don't know how easy it is for you to be able to add stuff. It's going to be a lot easier on paper. So we started here with evaporation. Okay, so this is from the ocean going up. And then we're going to have condensation, which is the clouds. Eventually they get heavy enough and we have precipitation. In this case is just rain. And then you're going to have runoff. Somebody said that. Sometimes they're underground. These are what are called karst features. When it goes through the ground, it's called percolation. And so the filtration into the ground, and then eventually, sometimes it stays on the surface and sometimes it's underground. It accumulates back into the ocean. The only one that I missed in the middle here was transpiration. And as plants do their thing and they do photosynthesis, when a plant breathes, it essentially sweats. Just like when we breathe, when you put a mirror in front of somebody's mouth and they're breathing, it's going to fog up on the mirror. The plants do the same thing. They're just plants. They're not animals. You go back. We'll do each one of these separately. And I mean, I could go into depth, but I don't see why. Especially since I know you guys have been taught this before. Let me check my online comments. Oh my gosh, my allergies. Raylan, Erica, Mauricio, and Sarah. Okay, nobody knew. So itchy. All right. So we're going to start with evaporation. And I stapled these all kinds of backwards, which is what you guys actually said first. It's the process when you have liquid water turn into a gas, a vapor. They're not necessarily boiling. Evaporation is just the natural process that the sun, like I said, it's not boiling, but it's the change from the solid to the gas, I'm sorry, not the solid. So going from the solid to the gaseous is sublimation, which I didn't even put on this. That's what ice does in your freezer. When they look like they get smaller, They're turning from the solid ice form to the gaseous form. Most of the heat to drive this process, like I said, the fancy word is insulation, but you have the radiation from the sun that heats the surface of the water. And because of the water has so many different things about it. It has a high heat of vaporization. It has a very high specific heat. Water, for the size of the molecule itself, most small molecules don't do the things that water does. Water is very, very, very different. Most things, as they get colder, they get more dense, but not ice. Ice actually gets less dense. Water hits 4 degrees Celsius and it starts becoming, it's like it starts expanding, starts trapping gas particles in between the hydrogen bonds. Here, there we go. So when water evaporates, the impurities are left behind, things like salt, dirt, any kind of heavier metals. The actual water particle leaves all that stuff behind. It does the same thing when water freezes. It pushes all those impurities out to the sides. So ice is fresh, although most of the water on this planet is salt. Very, very, very little of it is in the liquid, fresh state. It's only about 1% of all the water on the planet. All right, next, condensation. You have the vapor that is starting to go back to the liquid state. Now, in clouds, these are very, very, very small droplets. And when we did weather a long time ago, we went into this with a little bit more depth. But as long as they stay suspended, they're going to be a cloud. Now, it's a cloud on the ground, that's fog. It's amazing to me that some of you don't realize that that's just a ground cloud.
So, for that, since the cloud, so how do the clouds, like, less weight cloud? Like, they don't weigh as much as fog?
I don't know, it's just, is it up or is it down? I mean, it's.
Well, like,
Let's go. No, I have not seen him in person in a very long time. Okay. Okay. So you're saying which is heavier? Is that what you were asking?
well, like, I thought, like, the really, really, really big clouds, like storm clouds, are always there in fog.
No, it has to do. You ever notice when it's foggy, it's normally early in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have more fog when you're closer to the coast? Eventually, like, when fog burns off, it's because the sun has come out and it's warmed it and it's lifted it back up. It's been a while since I've seen fog in this area, but where I came from, like, you could actually, like, it was like a blanket. Like, you could see, like literally, like, this far off the ground, and you could see it lift. But I was a lot closer to the coast there. But no, I mean, clouds are heavy. It's a lot of water that's in them. It's just that the particles are so small, they stay suspended. Eventually, you hit that tipping point and it rains back out, or sleets or hails or whatever.
Put a bucket on it and warm it up and put it in the water in it.
Wait, what now?
So if I put a bucket on fog, like, and it warmed up with the water on it.
Not necessarily. I mean, it has to cross the precipitation point. I mean, have you never driven through fog and you get all the moisture on your windshield?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It has to have something to it's been so long since we did this when we did weather. They have to have what's called a condensation nuclei, something for the water droplets to attach to. They can't stick to anything, they don't beat up. No. It was a long time ago we did that. I want to say that was the second 6 weeks when we talked about that. When you have the right temperature, which is the case of fog, that's sort of your tipping point. When you have the right temperature and you have the right air pressure, the right barometric pressure, it's going to force the water out of the cloud. It's almost like it squeezes the water out of the cloud. If you don't have Those two things, it doesn't matter how much moisture's in the air, it's not going to rain out. We'll get more into this with water systems Wednesday, and then, like I said, the one that I have on stream gradients is pretty nasty. This one's actually on the shorter side. It's like I said, you should be familiar with water cycle anyways. I really need to fix this, it's bothering me. So anyways, you have your precipitation, rain, sleet, snow, hail. Sure, I'm forgetting something. You're going to go from higher elevation to lower elevation. Water always finds the lowest point. Sometimes it goes into the ground itself. And precipitation, once it gathers, is considered accumulation. And like I said, your ultimate sink would be the ocean. Uh-oh. What goes? Oh. Okay. I have to run home during third period. Oh, we're going to finish super early today. None of you guys should have, oh wait, that's not right. I stapled this backwards, I'm confused. Okay. Right, so you have all different types of words that are used for rivers, streams, brooks, creeks. You eventually will have one stream feeding into another stream. The smaller stream that feeds into a larger stream is called a tributary. We'll get to all of that eventually, but they eventually become larger and larger. They turn from streams to rivers. Eventually, rivers turn into river systems, and then they're going to end up eventually into the ocean. Somebody mentioned runoff. There was something I was going to say here, and I'm having an old person moment. Most of the evaporation actually happens in the oceans. It's something like 78% of all of the evaporation happens from the oceans themselves. And when the water evaporates, it leaves the salt behind, which is one of the reasons why the ocean is more salty towards the equator and less salty towards the poles.
And you make like a project or something basically. So like people can start making their way.
I don't know. I'm normally a huge fan of projects and stuff. Look at my thing. Because I know we really only have like 5 weeks worth of time because the last week is finals and everything. Let's see here. That's pushed back. I don't know.
So are we getting out a week later?
No.
Or not?
No, the last day of school is the 27th, that's that half day. So, and because every school does this slightly different, the last week of school, the 24th, Monday, I believe is even CBAs for seniors, and then Tuesday should be odds for everybody, and then Wednesday would be evens for non-seniors.
Doesn't make any sense. So they're doing.
Because seniors have graduation practice and everything,
Oh,
so they end the day, so everybody will be doing their odds on Tuesday. Seniors are gonna do their evens on Monday, and then everybody else is gonna do their evens on Wednesday. And then the last week of school for seniors. Because like I said, every school does this a little bit differently, so, and I'm sure there's stuff that, like the chemistry team is blowing up.
Oh, nutrition.
Oh, no. Okay. I have too many things going on at once. Okay, so percolation, This is what happens when the water seeps down into the ground. Depending on how porous the material is going to determine how much water actually goes through. This is a big problem with areas that are urbanized because we do things like roads and like sidewalks and crap, and the water cannot get through that. They've actually changed the way that some areas are doing their roads where the water actually will go, like it'll drain through it. I don't know what it is that they're using that's so much different. So one of the reasons why we're having so many flooding issues in larger cities, like when what's his face came through and flooded out Houston. Houston flooded a couple years in a row, actually, because everything's a concrete jungle and the water can't go into the ground. It has to go somewhere, so it stays up on the roads. This process, as the water's going through the ground, actually helps to filter it. I know you think, ew, it's going to be dirty, but it helps pull all the impurities out of water. And they always go downhill. They go from higher elevation to lower elevation. Not normally. I swear. All right, so when it stays on surface level, it's surface water, really like inventive how they name things. When it penetrates through the ground, that would be groundwater. Like I said, we'll get more into like the different types of water bodies and systems. I think that's Wednesday. Like I said, I haven't really touched this all weekend. I'm trying to bring all my stuff back together. If it goes into a cave system, those are called karst features. Most of you have probably not been any kind of a major cave system. There's water in them. Okay, that's what cuts through the rock to make the cave system to begin with. Yeah, I think they're open right there. I know when I went to Carlsbad, they said that because it's so far down, that the water that we were watching that was dripping into the pools, it took it hundreds of years just to get from the surface where everybody parks down into some of the lower levels. That was such a fun vacation. I can't tell you how many times I whacked my head on a stalactite. C for ceiling, G for ground, yes. So like I said, each one of these processes helps clean. Oh, if I didn't have this thing on silent, I keep thinking it's got to be something important. Sorry. I don't think anybody does any schoolwork over the weekend. I'm trying to figure out what we're doing. This image, this is what a karst feature is down here. I know you guys can't really see me pointing that's on it, but these two little cave type systems down here. And then eventually it's running out through a spring off on the side. I didn't go too far into anything like that. I'm just sort of doing a very general overview of the water cycle today. All right, transpiration is the one that we haven't really gotten to. This is what plants do, is they're creating oxygen for us to breathe, taking carbon dioxide out of the air, making glucose through photosynthesis. So their root system, and I know that there's different types of plants, but just in general, the true vascular tissue, the roots pull moisture and the nutrients up, gets brought up through the phloem. Xylem is support, and phloem is like their arteries and their veins. And then it gets taken up to the leaves where photosynthesis actually occurs. And in the process of bringing in carbon dioxide and breathing out oxygen, water is present. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. So it's got carbon dioxide plus, let's see, C6 equals O6 plus O2 plus water. Okay, so this is photosynthesis not balanced. But this is the water that's for the transpiration. And this is what plants do for us. Somewhere at the end of this 6 weeks, I have to do evil bad humans because we're producing so much stinking carbon dioxide that it's like flood basalt level vital. But without carbon dioxide, the plants would suffocate, and if the plants are all gone, then we're gonna suffocate. So I mean,
Right, wouldn't it be a good thing to make more carbon and the plant can take up more of it?
yeah, but there comes a point when we produce too much carbon dioxide that they can't keep up. And then you push more into the oceans get hotter. The oceans can actually absorb a heck of a lot more heat than the atmosphere can. Not necessarily. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? You give it a few hundred years. I mean, with the current projected rate, within 1 to 200 years, half of the current living organisms on this planet will be extinct.
Really?
Yes.
You think we'll be extinct?
I don't know.
Probably in space, baby.
I don't know. I mean,
Living on the space like
we're basing all of this off these like computer models, and some of them have been disproven. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you guys look at all these different like scenarios and whatnot. I'll have to mention a couple of them, but anyways, I'm getting all kinds of sidetracked. So let's see. And so from the leaves, that's where this water moves back and forth. It depends on how large the plant is. It depends on the surface area of the leaf. It depends on, is it windy or not? How humid is it outside? How much sun exposure is the plant getting? There's all different kinds of things that control how much water actually leaves the leaves. Leaves the leaves. Yeah, I said that right. From plants. Yeah, I jumped ahead over here. So how bright is it outside? How humid is it? The more humid it is, the more the plant actually tries to retain. The windier it is, the more water is going to be stripped from the plant itself. It depends if you've got adequate moisture in the soil at all. If you've never tried to grow plants, if you forget to water them, they don't live very well. Like I said, it's the process of taking nutrients, which is nitrogen, particularly, from the soil up to be able to nourish the plant and let it do its thing. I learned that the dirt that I put in my garden, my strawberries, do not like it. I lost 2 more, huh?
What are these tonsils?
The things in your throat?
Yeah.
To get pulled out.
No, I mean, it's,
Why are they there?
To get pulled out.
no, I think they have something to do with the immune system. I think. I've never been asked that before. I know a lot of people have them taken out because they're constantly getting infected.
Yeah, like everyone I know is having always my strep throat and shit.
Not unless you're a carrier like me, you can't get strep throat. I'm
I'm
immune. I can carry it, I can give it to people, but I don't ever get sick. Awesome.
I just think me.
It used to make me so mad when my sisters could stay home from school because of strep throat, and I'd like drink out of the same cups as them, and I never got it. Never got it.
Is that one of the things that, like, you're sick because of strep throat, like, in your tonsils?
That's normally where it settles. So, yeah, I found out when we were doing bacteria cultures in our mouth in, was it microbiology? I think it was microbiology. We were scraping all the gunk out of the back of our throat, and I was like, look, Doc, I said, no, because I got all these like beads in there. And he's like, do you feel okay? And I was like, yeah. He goes, because that's streptococcus. So I was like, oh, lovely. They look like bunches of grapes. They little
Yeah, I
clumps.
used to get strep a lot when I was little, so.
Yeah, that class was fun. Boys. All right, so, and then it just keeps going over and over and over. I know some of these images I'm putting up here are like 1990s, like clip art kind of stuff. It's okay, they work. So we started with evaporation, then we had condensation, then we had precipitation, accumulation, runoff and percolation, all that good stuff. And then transpiration is the other one. It's just the evaporation of water from the plant itself, not from the body of water. Is that a hippo? I think it's a hippo. So obviously, the water cycle gives us the water that we need to drink, and that we need to be able to successfully grow crops, raise animals. It helps drive our weather. You know, weather's a little bit more complicated than just the water cycle, but it is a part of it. And I can't remember where I did it in the notes, but warmer temperatures, because we know that things are warming. It's not like it's going to be 200 degrees tomorrow or anything like that. I think we're actually on a freeze watch tonight. But the warmer the air is, the more moisture it can hold. Our weather will continue to get more and more and more crazy. The hurricane season that we had last year was nuts. We expect there to be a nice warm summer again. If the ocean's anywhere near as hot as it was last season, we very well may see our first hurricane before the season officially starts, which is the 1st of June. Mm-hmm. I think it's the 1st of June is the beginning of hurricane season. Okay, that was the last one on there. Let me freeze this, turn on the light. I told you we were gonna get through this rather early. We have 15 minutes. Now we only have really 5 weeks worth of material if you're excluding the 6 weeks exam. It's technically not a final, it's just a 6 weeks test. Let me stop this.